Welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Hour. Producer Doug Dow. I am your host, Maureen Byers. We are happy to present our special guest tonight, Dr. George Roberts III. Our special guest tonight is a data scientist in real estate, a multifamily passive investor, LPGP, with the philosophy of living abundantly. Welcome.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Maureen, Douglas. It's exciting to be here.
Where are you from originally, George?
I'm from Michigan, loving the Great Lakes.
Yeah, it's beautiful there. I have clients there, except in the winter.
It's hard sometimes, but we can stay inside and get the old fireplace running, so it's not too bad.
Ice fish.
I haven't done that, but it sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, really green. Can you tell us more about your career before real estate?
Oh, sure. So many things. Started out in bioscience, had a great time, worked in three fields: immunology, microbiology, physiology, genomics, and it was really exciting, prepared me well for what was to follow. At one point, I decided that I really wanted to spend more time with the family and thought that focusing on data analysis would help me. But rather than going into my expected genomics career, I ended up having a full relaunch and went into data science. And that's just a wonderful thing, has been a great thing for me because, the numbers tell the story.
Very true. What was your original aha moment? What really caught your attention, if you recall, about real estate specifically?
Well, I became an accidental landlord and enjoyed the cash flow from it. Tried some other things, including the stock market. But when we sold that home, which was our first primary residence, just noticed that, wow, losing that cash flow was that was really the aha moment, saying, you know what, maybe landlording is not a bad job after all.
Yeah, it's a lot easier, I think, than people are led to believe for some reason.
Well, you can make it harder than it needs to be.
It depends on whether you're a good landlord or not.
Well, correct. Whether you have the proper systems in place, know how to screen your tenants, and if you have enough units, then get some property management in place. If you do those things, then life is easy. And if you don't, then I understand why people usually have one bad tenant and then they're through.
Yeah, it can be very challenging. I think some people just aren't cut out to be landlords, actually, after being in the industry for decades. And they just, I don't think, realize how much work it takes, how much time it is.
Well, it is a real job. And, some say that landlords get rich in their sleep, but it doesn't start out like that. You have to build the business and do it right. And it's a lot of work to make it run.
I agree. You have invested in many different asset classes as a passive investor. What tips do you have for LPs vetting sponsors?
Well, I like to say that we call it passive investing, but when you do invest passively, you want to do the same sort of due diligence that you would do if you were going to go in as a general partner, for example. And one of my favorite quotes is from Peter Lynch, One Up on Wall Street. And he would point out about how people will do more research for a appliance, a fridge, or a microwave oven than they would do for a stock. And people are putting a lot more money into that equity than they put into the microwave oven. So don't be one of those investors. Make sure that you're vetting. You want to vet the sponsor. What's their track record? You want to take a look at the market you're in and also look closely at the deal. A lot of people, I think, they just look at the deal, or even worse yet, they just look at the projected returns and they say, oh, hey, let's do this. Don't do this.
So due diligence, do your due diligence.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
take your time and know who you're going to be connected with.
Mhm.
How do you get a hold of references from sponsors?
Well,
Is
you
that
can ask,
common?
and some sponsors will do that. I mean, it's hard because these people who invest passively, I mean, to get that sort of money, you got to figure these are busy people and they can't be asked all the time. But if you ask, many sponsors will do that. But another thing you can do is just become active. And if you're active, whether it's on LinkedIn or ideally face to face, people will tell you what happened. You know, hey, I invested with a sponsor, things didn't go well. Why? Was it something unexpected, something that could have been predicted, or not so much? You really want to dig deep. So the more people you know, the more things you're going to hear about sponsors, and you'll hear people that do things very, very well and what people like.
Do you prefer the single family side or the multifamily?
Well, I prefer multifamily. Single family is a great way to start because we all basically understand it. You're either a homeowner or you're a tenant, and most of us have purchased a home at some point. Once you understand how the retail transaction goes through in residential real estate, it's, I think, very tempting to go ahead and continue on and do that. And I think it's a great way, by the way. I'm not going to be one of those multifamily sponsors that says, hey, you got to do it this way, it's the only way. About to interview Chris Prefontaine. He's got a great way of doing things, for example. And I greatly appreciate, after looking at people who do this with no money down, they don't sign on any loans. And not to say that you can't do that with multifamily. There are many ways, like lease options, to make single family worlds excellent. Short-term rentals is another way to do it. You can get outstanding returns in the single family space, but I do think you have to work a little harder.
I agree. I'm not a fan of lease options, but I like lease purchases. Just a lease agreement and a purchase agreement. I don't like the option part of it. It depends on what cycle we're in the marketplace.
Right.
So, but I think they're good. They're good tools for the trade. What about industrial or commercial?
Well, I think industrial is great, but you have to consider where you're at in your career. It's a lot less crazy to take down a 20 unit apartment as your first transaction compared to a single tenant industrial or a single tenant triple net, even, because things can go wrong and you can be untenanted for a very long time and you're going to be hurting. So if that's your only investment and you don't have a lot of financial
Hello?
wherewithal, you're hurting.
Hi, I'll have to talk to you later. I'm on a call.
Ex- Yeah, just turn your mic off if we can. Thank you. What about vacant land and acre farm and ranch? I noticed that a lot of billionaires are buying vacant land, have been for quite a while now.
Well, I'll start with farmland because that's something I know more about. That's a huge trend. Farmland tends to go up in a very steady fashion. A lot of the reasons that people invest in multifamily, I know a lot of the audience here is interested in multifamily, is that it's a basic need. And that tends to support the prices. Well, food is an even greater basic need. You can't go for very long at all without that. So these very rich investors know what they're doing. Now, I've never invested in vacant land, but I can tell you that I think there are a lot of myths about any form of investing. Like, for example, oh, multifamily, you've got to be a millionaire to do that. No, obviously not. I think most of the people on this call know that's not the case. But people will say, you know, hey, vacant land, well, it doesn't do anything, right? You know, I'm investing in land. Well, but you can rent it to a farmer, for example. There could be oil and gas rights. There's all kinds of ways to make it work. So I don't do that personally myself, but again, it's a decent option.
Yeah, I love vacant land because you don't have tenants, but then you don't have a cash flow either,
Right.
unless you are leasing it to the government or
Mhm.
agriculturally or a hunting retreat or
Yeah.
something like that. But did you flip property? Did you go from residential to multifamily? Have you flipped property or?
So I can't say that I flip property. I can understand why that appeals. I mean, if you're good with a hammer and you have taste or you have taste, you can do a really good business in that. I've seen people do amazing things. I also had the opportunity to interview Pace Morby, and he'll do what he calls a triple digit flip, where he's making six figures a flip. So again, a lot of people knock it. They'll say, well, hey, you flip, you're not an investor. You've just given yourself a job. But again, it's all in how you do it. If you structure it right and you're making six figures each time, I'd say that's a pretty good job. But again, I started being an accidental landlord, just keeping the family home, our primary residence, then became our investment home. And it was a fine way to go, because later in life, and I really had a second aha moment. This was with my sister and brother-in-law. We started a construction company, and I realized how much I loved entrepreneurship, but I was also a six-figure data scientist. Don't want to give that up. So when I heard about multifamily, that just seemed to fit the bill, because I figured, hey, I'm working with data at scale. Now, why don't I just do real estate at scale? And I already know how to be a landlord. So that made a lot of sense. Now, if I didn't have that background and I just had the experience of, well, hey, let's start up a construction company. Now, what am I going to do next? What's my gig going to be? It would not have been such an easy decision to say, well, I'll just go buy apartments.
Hey,
That-
it seems that an important aspect of God's covenants with Abraham had largely been forgotten.
Excuse me, somebody maybe might want to mute.
If you're the host, Maureen, I think you can just force mute people.
I think Doug can do it.
Doug, okay. All right, Doug's the man. It's down to you, Doug.
It sounds like it was a natural progression for you, a natural marriage to combine the two. As far as seeing the LPGP side, what have you seen for ups and downs, and what mindset guided you through the challenging projects?
Well, as for ups and downs, certainly you're going to have that anywhere. I love both passive as well as active investing. I wish I would have started passive investing earlier. It is certainly fair to say easier, but maybe more to the point, you have fewer moving parts. Get that self-directed IRA, get your solo 401k going. Do it now, because it's going to take you some time to get it done. And when you find that killer deal and you find out that the capital call is in 2 weeks and you've got to have your money wired in, well, you're going to miss that one. And even if it turns out to be a dress rehearsal, that's still great news. You're ready for the next. But I would say just set it up now and do it as you're looking for a deal. And you can fund it with whatever you need, $50,000. Where I go, you could actually invest in the stock market or bonds or something else in the meantime. So I think that's a great way to go. Just, hey, you've probably already got a stock account. Well, hey, just split it, get your self-directed working for you, and then transfer that money over. And you can still invest in stocks and bonds or whatever you like to invest in while you're waiting.
That's a great idea. The beautiful strategy. As far as entrepreneurship, what attracted you the most from the corporate world and a six-figure job?
Well, the freedom of it all. There's just something beautiful about being able to chart your own course. And at one point where the corporate world wasn't really treating me very well, long story behind that, I could tell you if you wanted, I bought myself a sailboat. And feeling the freedom of that, all I can tell you is that for me, that is a major metaphor. Being able to go out there, be the captain of your own ship, chart your own course, and live, win, or die by your own wits. There's just a different character to life when you do things that way.
It's so true. It just makes you feel alive, I think, in general.
Yeah, I'm never going back.
No, I don't know anybody that has, actually.
Right.
Now, for most investors coming into single family here, in the audience, can you explain IRR for those who have not seen your epic video
Well,
on the
first of all, I
topic?
appreciate that you're calling it an epic video because one of the things that I love to do, and something that was obviously part of my career, so becoming a PhD and being a teacher, for me, I just love to teach. And I didn't always love numbers. I came from biology, which is usually the science you do if you don't like numbers, and found out a bit later that it was very rewarding. I could become, as they say, in the Valley of the Blind, the one-eyed man is king. And I realized there are so many people who just don't love numbers that I swear that if you put the effort in to become numerically talented, that it'll pay off tenfold. So what is IRR? Internal rate of return. It's one of the best and most common ways to measure return in real estate as well as in finance. So how do you calculate IRR? First of all, I would take a step back. We have to understand the time value of money. Money now is better than money later. But why? You could say, well, what if I have enough money? Well, you could still invest that money and then you would get even more money. Even if you invested at the risk-free rate of return in treasuries, still, there's always going to be that preference for getting more money now. So then the next question is, well, we have to somehow discount those future cash flows so that we can equalize for that time value of money. But what do you discount at? Well, what I like about IRR is its very even-handed approach to determining what that discount rate should be. If you set your discount rate such that your net present value of your future cash flows is zero, then boom, you've found essentially the rate of return.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that being in the space that you're in and being a PhD, jumping from corporate to an entrepreneurship, investing in real estate and being open to LP and GPs is an extraordinary journey. What would you say was your mindset that got you through that challenge?
Well, I can tell you the one thing that I got out of my PhD journey was determination. And I think that is the number one characteristic of any successful person. And when you are in a highly technical field, it's easy to feel that what you really need to do is just march forward 1 foot in front of the other and just focus very narrowly on your field. And I did have to break out of that mindset. But I didn't find that terribly difficult because I do believe that I am a people person by nature. And so when I was exposed to what the rest of the world had to offer, I just wanted it. And there's another side to the story. That's the positive side. The negative side is that anyone who has spent time behind the scenes in academia can tell you it can be a very stultifying experience. There is a lot of free thought, and it's amazing to be able to go into the laboratory and do exploration every day in a way that is, in some ways, as exciting, though in a very different way. But again, after spending a few years in academia, I knew that I had to find the business world.
Yeah, I think you've done a tremendous amount of work to get to where you're at, and it takes a lot of discipline to do what you've done, and my hat's off to you.
Thank you. It's been a great journey.
George, you're a data scientist of real estate. What do you see for future prices with the corrections on the horizon with single family as well as multi?
Well, I make a point of making conditional predictions, okay? If I was going to say, I know prices are going up or down, you should turn off the TV, shut down your computer. I'd be wasting your time. But we know that much of what's been driving prices is interest rates. And if I were to pull up a graph right now of the 30-year, you would see that the 30-year mortgage peaked twice last year. The last time was November 10th. And what we should expect is that about 45 days later is where we might see the bottom of prices. Well, now, what a coincidence. Just about 2 days or 3 days from now, we should be getting the next Case-Shiller data point. And when we do, my guess is that it'll be roughly level with the prior data point, which was approximately 0.3% lower than the data point before. So what I'm saying, if you can imagine it, and it's not easy to imagine, but what I'm saying is I think we're leveling off now unless interest rates shoot up again. And you have to remember there's a couple things, there's multiple things in interest rates. Part of it, we've got our base interest rate, we've got the Fed, the FOMC, and everything in a certain sense is driven off of that. But then we've also got concerns about how high the Fed is going to shoot. And now that it looks like we're leveling off, people no longer have to pad their future predictions. So to keep it really simple and not worry too much about duration and prepayment and all these other nuances that we could go into, now that we have a little bit of certainty and now that we have seen interest rates tick back down, we want to be clear that if that continues to be the case, that I think that we will eventually see home prices take off, because the other side of the coin is the supply side. And we are hugely undersupplied in housing right now. We have only had 2 months since 2007 that we have had over 1.5 million housing completions annualized per year. And what that means is that we're not even keeping up. We're not even keeping up with the natural demand of a growing country and of the obsolescence, the natural obsolescence of real estate. We're not even keeping up. And as long as we remain millions of units behind in construction, leveling interest rates is going to mean that home prices should continue to increase. And I say home prices, even though I know a lot of people here are interested in commercial real estate, but we have to understand that economics, as has been defined, is the study of scarce resources with alternative uses. And so you don't have to live in an apartment or a house. You could live in one or the other. And so at the end of the day, it all impacts one another. So if you're looking to see what's going to happen in commercial real estate, sure, you can look at the 10-year, but also take a look at the Freddie Mac primary market mortgage survey, because that's going to tell you what's going on in the single family space. And they're just simply more single family units than there ever will be of multifamily in this country.
Yes, I agree with that. The last statistic I heard was we are short 5 million houses in single family in the United States.
Exactly. And that's based on household formation. And if you just add up the delta between how many we've been completing and how many we'd be expected to complete based on the long run average since 1960, it's more like 8 million.
I believe that. And also the other issue is affordable housing. I'm in Southern California, and we're seeing major companies buy up apartments, evict people, and raise the rent to any amount that they can, even though there is some rent control programs in place. But how do you compete against these major corporations? I'm not going to name any names, but we all know who they are.
Well, I think that's a great question, because it is a genuine challenge. With large size comes the economies of scale. But what can a smaller corporation do? You can care. You can care about your tenants. You can also care about your investors. If you work with me as opposed to an institution, you're going to get white glove treatment. I'm happy to answer the phone. And when you call me, it will be me answering the telephone. And you're going to learn from me, and you're going to get the story from me. If you have a question, I'll text you right back. I have a rule that I like to get back to people max 1 hour. So you really just have to look at who you are and what you have to offer as a unique individual. And lucky for us, we are all unique. All of us have a unique history. We have something to offer that operator X or operator Y doesn't have. So some people might be turned on by me, by my technical background. Maybe they find my IRR videos epic as well. And so, hey, I might be the perfect guy for you. And if that's the case, then definitely come my way. I do have a little bit of an intellectual bent. For example, if you go to www.horizonmultifamily.com right now, you can still get my ebook for free. And this is a real ebook. Whereas most people just have a pamphlet, I'll call it a pamphlet, 5 or 6 pages, mainly pretty colors and 5 or 6 words per page. And those things are great. And I will put one of those out at some point because I'm going to publish my book, but you can actually still get that for free. So starting with somebody who may be newer and who has yet been through a few transactions and has a solid record to prove has its advantages as well.
Yeah, I've heard that the new business card is publishing a book.
Well, it's a great business card. And
It's a great, yeah.
New or old, it's going to be one of my next business cards, and hopefully not too far in the future. And I think I'm up to at least 40 pages or more. So again, it's a great deal for people who are interested in learning about me, working for me. It's a limited time offer.
Thank you so much. Everybody can put their information in the chat, or we are recording today, so we can reach out to each other and share the information. One of the reasons why I connected with Doug Dow is because he has kind of a similar integrity background. It's different because it's law, tax, finance with his JD in real estate, but it's also availability and communication and a deeper connection to the truth of whatever that investment is, or the tax basis, or in your case, the analysis of the investment and that sort of things. And I think a lot of people are gravitating towards investing and have been for the last couple of years, but they overly confuse it and complicate it. And there's all these coaches and all this information by all these people that I don't know, what their backgrounds are, or what they've done with their life, or if they've invested, or what they've been through. And so I think it's really confusing. I represent a couple of women's real estate investment groups, and they're just so confused about how to start. What is the best program to start? We know it's single family to multifamily and to take the steps for what you can afford and fits into your lifestyle, but how do you start with all of the wholesalers and the flippers and the documentation?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to take a survey. It's totally fair to say, hey, I don't know where I fit in. Am I a wholesaler, a flipper? Am I a buy and hold landlord? Do I do single family, multifamily, residential multifamily, commercial multifamily? All of these are good niches. So depending on who you are, and if you really do have no money, and I know people do apartments, no money down, it can happen, but you probably do want to start out as a wholesaler or maybe as a flipper and get a hard money loan. But I'm not one of those people who's going to tell you there's one way to go or that you have to start with single family. But one thing I will tell you don't do is try and go out and get 100 units your first time. Now, if you have a mentor, I'll tell you why that's okay if you have a mentor, because your mentor is going to step in, and either your mentor or one of your mentor's coaches is going to step in and help you run that deal. And your mentor is going to help make sure that you're not making a multi-million-dollar mistake. So yes, if you go out and get coaching, you may be able to do that, but you're going to end up with a smaller percentage of the deal. And I'm also not going to say that's not a bad idea. That might be the right way to go. So I would say definitely start with a survey approach. But once you think that you understand the basics of real estate and you've picked your niche, then I'll give you Robert Kiyosaki's advice. Focus. That stands for follow one course until successful.
I love that. I agree with you. When I was younger, I wanted to invest in real estate in Colorado, and I really couldn't find anyone. They either seemed to be incompetent or crooks. So that's why I got a degree in real estate and became a real estate broker investor, because at that point, which was a long time ago, there really wasn't any other coaching. I went to a lot of events, which were motivational and networking but I'd have to say the most serious, best events that I went to was CCIM. That was one of the best ones that I ever attended. But I think you meet a lot of people along the way, but I think that it's really important. I'm big on education and experience. And I just think that for me, I had to do it myself. I'm not that anybody does everything themselves, but
Right.
I had to go through the University of Colorado in Boulder, and I got my certificate there. I'm glad that that started my journey.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, education is the best first step. And it's always, at least in parallel with execution, the best second, third, and fourth steps. So I think being a broker has got to be an outstanding adjunct. If you don't mind, if I could turn it around and ask you a question. It seems to me that all these brokers that I talk to, they know so much about real estate. They would make the perfect investor. And yet most brokers never take the steps. So what is it that makes you different than other brokers? Why are you able to take the leap and live the dream, so to speak?
Well, for me, I was a single mom and I was in college and I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. So I flipped a coin, literally. And one side was gemology and the other side was real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license with a certificate in real estate, and I went on from there, and I've been awarded master of real estate, and I just am a lifelong learner, and I continue to grow, and I always wanted to invest. And our family on both sides invested in real estate. So I don't know if it was in my blood or not, but I've always been passionate about land. And I started first investing in land. I didn't have to take care of any tenants. Taxes were low. There wasn't any insurance. So for me, flipping land was normal. And then I got into financing, creative financing and owner will carry. So I like the freedom of the lifestyle and then owning my own brokerage and becoming an investor. And at that time, I was really a pioneer in commercial investment real estate in Colorado for women. And I empowered a lot of people, not just women, to buy their own home instead of leasing their own home and then buy an investment property. So my background has been servicing in brokerage, financing, exchanging, and investing with multi-generational clients. And for me, I think that you should do whatever you're passionate with. And that way it doesn't seem like a job. It seems like you can get up early in the morning and be happy and look forward to what you're doing. And I'm just passionate about real estate. I like the money that real estate has to offer. I don't think it's easy money, but I like the creative side of investing and financing and putting deals together and exchanging and actually utilizing some of the laws like the 1031s and the 1034 exchanges that a lot of people don't use. So I've always grown with it. I still learn every single day. I've served on several boards and it's become this lifestyle and career for me that's second nature. And now that I'm older, I get offered to mentor a lot and I like teaching as well, but I like interviewing and investing more.
Well, I like that. I think that you're a great interviewer. I can't wait for you to launch your series.
Okay, I'll do it. One more question. Okay. What is something that you are eagerly awaiting and looking forward to with great excitement?
Well, the beginning of sailing season, I just can't wait to get out there again. And it's always an adventure out on the water. And I found the very, very best way to forget about all of the hassles, all the troubles, all of the numbers, all the spreadsheets, and just be human.
I love it. I love it. Water is so cleansing. I'm 4 miles from the ocean in Oceanside, and I'm in the water every single week unless it's freezing, which we've had a lot of rain and I don't go in with big waves or anything like that. I'm a boogie boarder, but I love the water too. And it's true, you can just get lost in it. But then like Doug's a skier and he loves the mountains and that's water too, the snow and everything like that. So everybody has their own passionate, I guess, playtime that revives and refreshes us to go back into whatever it is that we're determined about for the next round. Does anyone have any questions? I think we have time for a few questions.
Hey, thank you, George. That was beautiful what you explained, and I didn't got that error, whatever you were talking about. That went a little, maybe because it's the afternoon for me, and I usually, if I can, I take a nap. So I told the other day, Maureen, I think in one segment, I think I was dozing out. But no, your staff was great, and hopefully you have a beautiful sailing season. And actually got late because I was watching, you mentioned Pace Morby, and I was watching Pace and Jamil Jamsi, and they are talking about the disruption that is going to cause AI in artificial intelligence, in how you find deals and how you connect with people, how you, all the stuff is going to be amazing. And he's just having if anybody is interested on that, if they are having a challenge for 3 days where they are going to, it's a recording section, they're going to explain all how AI can be introduced and utilized to find deals and connect and deal with everything from data. And you are a big data person, so I think it's going to be very interesting if you want to hook on that one. So they were going finding what you want to find your deal, how you find your deal, find your market first, then what you want to do, and then connect with all the great community from Pace and Jamil to help you find a mentor or a group of people that can help you. So I was in that Zoom and jump on this one because I'm loyal to Maureen. I want to do it here, and you didn't disappoint me, so it was very good. I can watch the other one.
Great to meet you, Aida. And if
Yeah.
you have any questions, just reach out to me. We can have a call. I'd love to have a chat and hear
Perfect.
what you're doing in the investing world.
Perfect. I'm pretty new here. I have the money sitting in the bank, so I don't have it in a stock. I don't have anywhere. So it's
Okay.
just trying to find between my travels and trying to find what I'm going to do. But I wanted to do it in my backyard, Los Angeles, Orange County, and try to find that one and do maybe wholesaling. I will start with wholesaling or Airbnb, those kind of things, arbitrage, Airbnb. So thank
All
you
right,
so
sounds
much.
exciting. Well, good luck in your journey.
Thank you.
We'll do it. We're going to see each other hopefully this weekend. Anyone else have more questions? Any more comments, questions? Don't be shy.
I have one. I'm just trying to think, George. On that, with the land, I know that she was talking about land and how she liked to invest in. Maureen likes to invest in land and stuff, but what, have you ever done the mineral rights or anything like that, oil or gas or anything like that?
No, I've studied up a lot on that because I'm fascinated by fossil fuels. I think fossil fuels are going to be with us a lot longer than anybody wants or expects. It's going to take a long time to replace this. So although I've never done anything with that, I do invest in the stock market in a variety of things related to fossil fuels because anything that's commodity based is very volatile. And if you're willing to take the time to do the homework, it can be very rewarding. So that's something that does bring me back to oil and gas. But I wish I could tell you more about that. I see Maureen is really the expert in land investing. So I'd like to hear what she has to say.
Well, we're lucky today because we have one of our partners with Equity Capital, Eagles Flight Equity Group, Doug's group, which is Shodan, and he is a petroleum engineer in Colorado. So Shodan, do you know a lot about investing with fossil fuels, with oil and gas reserves?
Oh, well, that's something I haven't really looked at. 'Cause I'm really curious too.
I've had some experience with it. I have sold some mining claims in the I don't know, 10,000 up to 14,000 elevation in Colorado. I've had several brokerages and different companies in Colorado, Arizona, and California, but primarily to answer your question, Randy, I has sold mineral rights and water rights and resold them profitably. You just have to be careful and do your due diligence like George was explaining. But I think Colorado has a lot of opportunities. I don't know, Shoden, if Texas does. Maybe Texas would be second, I would guess.
No, Texas is pretty huge for oil and gas.
Yeah, I know that I represented a couple of American Native tribes in Colorado, and they bought a bank from me and some land to build houses and things like that. And a lot of people thought that their wealth came from the casinos, but it didn't. It came from oil and gas reserves. And you know, I've sold land to people that in Erie, which you'll know where it is, Randy Joe, because you're a Coloradoan. Outside of Erie, I sold a ranch and there was oil on it. So they were kind of like the Clampetts, only he was the captain of the fire department, and they didn't expect that. So sometimes the minerals are more valuable than the land itself. And then my late brother and I, we had our own brokerages respectively, but we were partners at times depending on the projects, and we both loved water. So living on the water, buying on the water, buying on a lake, live water, fresh Blue River waters in Colorado, live water for water companies for drinking water. Water is actually more valuable than land. And of course, we sell our water to Arizona and Colorado. I don't know why we can't drink it out of the faucet if we sell it. I don't know why I can't drink out of the faucet here, but when I go back to Colorado, you can drink out of the faucet. So I feel like the resources are very valuable and they're overlooked a lot of times. You just have to be careful with the chain of title. And I worked for a developer that bought a title company. That was a lot easier for us to do the research. But my recommendation would be, if you're interested in it, maybe to talk to title in the map room and then get the maps on it and look into where the claims are and who owns them, and just follow the chain of title and claims and then make an offer, because some of them are valuable and it's fun to go up there and dig and play around, especially in Colorado, depending on the season. It's beautiful. But yeah, water, I would say my education I couldn't find an education in water when I started in farm and ranch with water rights. And I had a brokerage in Boulder County that I shared a little house with my brother, and it was our office. So what I did is I made appointments with the water rights attorneys. I think there was 6 of them, and they were all men. And I went to their office and I paid them their fee, whatever that was, by the hour. And that's how I got my education in water rights. And then I talked my in-house counsel, who was in Boulder, Colorado, into creating a course of water rights 1, 2, and 3 advanced, so that other people could learn about water rights, especially where we're from, Randy Joe, because it's so critical. But minerals are fun. You just have to know what you're doing. Take your time, do your due diligence, and check with the title company.
Yeah, I would be interested in the mineral part of it, definitely. So
Yeah.
Like with our house here, we just have like not even a quarter of an acre we're on, and we have our mineral rights. So it's like when we sell our house in a couple of years, it's like, I'm keeping those mineral rights. And like, who was it telling me? How do I pronounce it? I don't want to chop up your name, but they had just posted too about be careful with the family if it's, passed down generation to generation with those mineral rights, to do the due diligence on that too. So definitely.
Go ahead.
No, that's good.
It's really important because I used to represent farmers and ranchers, and a lot of them, I would list their land and sell it, and a lot of them don't keep their mineral and water rights, which are very valuable. They don't really want to sell anyway, but they made so much money, most of them, that they sent their kids to college, and their kids are not going to be farmers and ranchers. I can guarantee you. They don't want to have anything to do with it. So I would sell the rights separately, or buy them, or sometimes they go with the property, but the developers definitely do that. They definitely try to get the water rights and the water and mineral rights, whatever passes in the deed and whatever they have, then I make sure it passes to us as investors or a purchaser or a group or whatever the case may be. But yes, I'm glad to hear that you have them. There's a lot of properties in Colorado that have them, and people just don't know. They don't know. So yeah, good. Keep me posted.
Oh, thanks.
Anyone else? Any burning questions on real estate investing or financing versus, I don't know, Bitcoin or anything?
I can ask another question. I'm just thinking too, George, when you said about the solo 401, the IRA, that, so example would be, I still have my W-2. So instead of investing into my 457, I do have an IRA set up, a solo, what is it called? I have a solo 401k, and then the self-directed IRA. We also have those set up. And I'm wondering, instead of putting my money into my 457 at my W-2, if I stop that, can I go ahead and do that into my self-directed IRA now? Well, I still have my W-2.
Right. Well, it depends on where it came from. So based on my understanding, if this is an actual IRA account, as opposed to a QRP, like a 401, that you established yourself, and you're putting in whatever it used to be 5,000, then it became 5,500, 6,000, whatever it is, you're putting in that amount each year, then yeah, sure, you should still be able to contribute to it and see it grow.
Okay. Yeah, because I just want to stop for the W-2, because with the stock going up and down, I've lost like 10% or 12% at my job.
Right.
So just do it that way. So
I mean, that's the real trick with the 401, because if it's your current job, generally what's going to happen is you can't do that. So it's got to be your former job. If you had a hefty 401, then that's great. And I'm not here to give tax or financial advice to anybody, but there are advantages to the 401/QRP side of things, because when you do things that way, then you get to avoid some of the taxation that the solo IRA people are exposed to. So that 401, once you separate, is even more valuable than your IRA.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
It seems like we've used them for down payments when we're short on the down, if they want a down or they need it for some other reason. We try to meet everybody's needs. I don't know if it was IRAs or 401s.
IRA.
It's an IRA, yeah. That's where, we try to brainstorm. If you don't want to go into partnership with your family, 401.
Can you put, George, the link to watch that epic stuff that Maureen mentioned? So I think I understand what you mentioned there, because I know there is tax advantage to have a solo there, the account, and when you want to buy something, you get that one and you don't get the taxation. It's different. I heard somebody talking about that before.
Right. Yeah. Please link to my YouTube channel, and you can learn more about Pace Morby and a lot of other great people on my YouTube channel. So please, all of you, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. I will do it.
I'll send it to you. Adia, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
On WhatsApp.
So yeah, it's youtube.com/@George Roberts III. That's I George Roberts III.
Perfect.
Yeah, I like your character on, I have one on Facebook. I like that kind of stuff.
Thank you. I had a freelancer do that for me. I had a lot of fun with it, but I'm afraid I have to work out harder every year to look like my avatar. So I don't know what's going to happen when I get older. Do I have to get a new avatar? Do I have to? I don't want to give up being a superhero just yet. It's a lot of fun.
I like the humorous side. Doug can tell you, he's a funny guy too.
Yeah.
And you know him. He is hilarious. And I just like to inject humor into real estate because I went to the Academy, April and Jason Williams Academy for a couple of days, and there was some dry content there, and there always is with taxes and insurance. But they had some people on there that really made it interesting.
Well, my content wasn't dry.
No, it doesn't have to be. I mean, when you're involved in a transaction and you want to make it work, then you need that help and you need that knowledge right away. One of the other ways, and I'll leave you with this, that I made money was I like rezoning. I like the rezoning and changing the zoning, kind of good guy, bad guy with a partner. And that's what I did. And I changed the zoning in Colorado and brought in a new zoning called townhouses. That's going to age me. And I realize that, but I think that it's all like the government, we have to look at the government right now. They have hub zones, they have opportunity zones, they have a lot of money. And I think that we really need to get those maps, just like with the cannabis, the legal cannabis, the green overlay zones. We need to look at those areas too, because they're overlooked in real estate. There's so much more real estate than running after single family houses and competing with everyone, especially here in California. You know, the average, well, Edia knows the average box here is $1 million. You're a millionaire if you pay cash for it automatically here. So I guess you could be an accredited investor if you bought a house. But there's just so much that I think people can look at, like Randy with mining claims. The real estate is just, it's endless opportunities.
Yeah, that's right. Do your survey first. You don't all have to do the same thing. Please be original.
I found your YouTube and I subscribe. So.
Oh, thank you, Ada.
Yes.
You're my favorite new friend.
I will find that. Now, if your avatar gets old, now with AI, you can create your own avatar without going to a guide to do it for you. You know what I mean?
Well, that might be my next step.
I know, I love AI.
Like Saddam Hussein, I'll send out 100 Georges.
No,
I'll be on every channel.
It's amazing. You can rewrite anything, do whatever, plagiarism, everything, rewrite it.
Okay, well, okay, you're an attorney. Doug's an attorney. What is it going to do to the law practices?
I don't know exactly. You never know. These things are. This is going to be big as the TV. I think something like that.
Yeah, as the internet.
Yeah, as the internet.
I mean, what happens to all the people that are graduating and they're becoming professors and they did it on AI and they don't know anything?
Like a marketing person right now, if they don't get to, I was hearing the other day, Billy Jean, he's a guru in marketing, you know, he's like the Grant Cardone in marketing. And he was he was showing 13 AI apps that you can use today to be better in marketing. And if those people are not going to use those, you know, they're going to fall behind from creating, you know, avatars, people, or Synthesian, for example, can create a person talking for you. You can pay to have your own person talking for you. Anything can be from looking for data to research to create posts on content. It's amazing. Photography, videos, editing videos. Then gonna do the CRM for if you're doing real estate, do the CRM through these applications. They control everything. Do the posting and send the messages for you. So they are going to have to really, for marketers, they are going to have to step up. Content writers are going to become a lost generation because everything, and AI is going to write whatever you want for, and you're not going to need anymore somebody doing the copyright for you. So
Okay, you're hired. I need
Yeah.
all of that. You're
even a
hired.
website, you were asking me to do a website the other day.
Do the website.
Yeah, you can do it with AI right now in half hour. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, a website, my brother used to do all my software and I
Yeah.
had another brother that used to do all my hardware.
Yeah.
And so